Uh, G'day guys. Java. Good stuff. Woo! Had a frickin' amazing workout at the gym this morning. Absolutely crushed legs. It's funny actually because it's like I get done with legs and I can barely walk for the rest of the day. That's why I hold off until like the weekend in the morning, so I've got like a couple of days to recover. Oh my gosh. You know, it's funny actually because it's one of those deals where, you know, most guys at the gym, they don't really work their legs out. For some reason, I don't know why, I absolutely hammer my legs. So I'm just like, So anyway, what I wanted to talk to you guys about, it was something that just clicked with me the other day. I was just like, oh my God. And that's what's awesome about this period right now. Living up here in where I live is an area called Grays Harbor, or the county is Grays Harbor, and it's right at the base of the Olympia National Forest. When I say I live in the Pacific Northwest is kind of like all of Washington and part of Oregon. But the beautiful thing about living up here and doing what I'm doing for work is it gives me time to think about stuff and process stuff. And one of the things that really hit me like a ton of bricks the other day was how I'd switched my passion in life, what I was passionate about, how I'd switched that up for glory, per se, for fame, fortune, whatever. And it's very interesting because as a teenager, I had my passion was the outdoors, was the winter, was getting into the snow and snow skiing and everything. I loved that stuff with a passion. I mean, I took my holidays off in the wintertime to go into the mountains. As a kid, we did winter survival training. And when I mean a kid, I mean a teenager. In the territorials, or what you would call the reserves in the United States. We did a lot of winter survival training, actually, in our area. Because we lived right at the mountains. I mean, the mountains were right in our backyard, just like they are here in the Olympia National Forest. And what I did was, I had this dream, this goal of moving to the United States and actually living like a ski bum, actually just doing the tour around the United States, working at different ski fields, you know, hitting Aspen, Colorado, places like that. And I'm not going to be living as a ski bum here, but what I am going to be doing is I'm definitely going to be spending a lot more time in the mountains here soon, especially once the snow starts falling. Because what I did was I exchanged something that I was passionate about for glory. Okay, well what was the glory? Well, I wanted to get into motor racing. I wanted to become a racing car driver. I had all these different goals that I wanted to attain. And the reality of the situation is, if I really looked at the root cause of why I actually wanted to attain these goals, was to get actually attention from my father, was to prove to my father that I could actually be someone, to be something. And I literally spent 30 years doing that. And that was a long time. And it's interesting because you don't realize how an abusive childhood can really affect you for a huge amount of your life. You see, what I realized was that I had been literally doing everything that I've been doing to actually get my father's approval. And what happened was, as I got a taste of that fame or a taste of that fortune, and it slipped through my fingers, I became more and more bitter, more and more angry towards the world and to the individuals that, brought me that pain or had that stuff slip through my fingers. However, the reality of the situation is, because I was so naive to the ways of the world, and in all sincerity, majority of New Zealanders are extremely naive to the ways of the world and how the world works. And that has a lot to do. I could do a whole video about, living on 2 small islands at the bottom of the world and not really having a clue about how the world works. So when we actually get overseas, we usually are very good at what we do. We do very, very well. However, a lot of people take advantage of us. So that wasn't the other person's fault. This is where that world of opposites works. It wasn't those other individuals' fault. It was my fault, or my lack of understanding about how the world works. As I said, my naivety. So, you get a taste, crash. Get another taste, crash. And I just kept on picking myself up, dusting myself off, picking myself up, dusting myself off. And I've been on TV shows, and I had an incredible opportunity in life, again, slipped through my fingers because of my naivety. So this process, this hamster wheel of life, this hamster wheel of misery that I'd gotten myself on in New Zealand finally collapsed around me. I just didn't have it in me anymore to deal with trying to make a name for myself, to try to put myself up on a pedestal. And what happened was that change came about at the beginning of last year, when I was leaving Blenheim, where I was born and raised, to head back up to Auckland. The first thing that happened was I actually looked my father in the eye. He was in a nursing home, and we were saying goodbye to each other. I was going to head back up to Auckland, carry on working. And what happened was, he's like, he's dying. Okay, this guy, his whole left side of his body from a stroke is dead. He's dying, right? He starts getting emotional because I'm going to be, leaving, and he's like, oh, Lol, it's been really, really great seeing you. Be great when you come back down. Look forward to seeing you again. He's getting all emotional, all teary-eyed, and everything like that. And I was giving him a hug in his bed, and I said when he said, it's going to be great to see you again and everything like that, I literally stood back and I took my father's head in my hands and I looked him dead in the eyes and I said to him, Dad, you're never going to see me again. You're dying. You're dying, Dad. And what happened was, he just broke down bawling his eyes out. He broke down crying like nothing else, just wailing. It was unreal. And it was a wailing that was coming from so far deep down inside of himself. It was absolutely unbelievable. I never heard that from my father in my life. And he started to apologize for everything that had happened during my childhood. He started to apologize for all that stuff and a lot of other stuff. And what it did was it started to release that hold that parents or loved ones can actually have on you. It released that hold of, I don't have to prove anything to this guy anymore. He's apologized. He said he is sorry. God, the poor bugger went to his grave with so many regrets. It was unbelievable. He missed out on so much in life, and I missed out on so much in life also because of this battle between the two of us. So what happened was, that was the first phase. That was the beginning of January, and by the beginning of April, he passed away. He died. He died under lockdown in New Zealand, in Blenheim, and that's another whole story. What happened there is just absolutely just unbelievable. Because we were in lockdown, we weren't able to fly down and be with our mother or anything like that. However, there was something that happened at the moment that he died, because I could feel him. He stopped by and he said, it was like he hugged me and he said goodbye. And the incredible thing about it was that was the second thing that happened. The first thing was telling him that he was going to die and all this sort of stuff. And then the next one was when he actually did die and he stopped by and he gave me a hug. And I heard him whisper in my ear, you're right. And there was suddenly, over the next month or so, there was just this void started to open up inside of me. The work that I was doing in New Zealand, even though it was some of the best work that I've ever, metal work that I've ever done in my life, it wasn't fulfilling me. I had nothing to prove anymore. I had no reason to have to try to be something that in my head I thought I had to be to get the admiration, acceptance, love, whatever it was that I needed from my father. And all that stuff started to melt away, all those feelings, all those everything. And there became this big void inside of me of, what do I do? Where do I go? And the incredible thing about it was while I was in this void, this place, because I had no idea of what I wanted to do. I had no clue where I wanted to be. I had no idea of the direction that I wanted to be going in or anything like that, because I traded my passion for this glory. And I did something that ended up becoming a complete reset, and we'll talk about that in the next video. But this trading your passion for glory, it's like, well, what do we know what our passion is? Well, a lot of us as kids, we know what our passions are. We know what we want to be around. We know what we want to be doing. And for me personally, the joy and the happiness and the peace and the freedom that I used to experience as a teenager, even in the mountains, like when we were snow skiing, we'd take our skis off once we'd get to the top of the lift, and we'd just hike for miles up into some other points that we could ski down. And I used to remember sitting on those hilltops, or not hilltops, mountaintops, with thousands upon thousands of feet above sea level, and we'd look down into the different valleys where we're from. Like, in all honesty, the one peak that we could climb up to, you could look all the way down the Wairau Valley where I was born and raised, and you could see the North Island. That's how small New Zealand is. You could, on a clear day, you could see Wellington and the tip of the North Island, no problem at all. And then, you're 80 miles away from that stuff. So the interesting thing about it is we leave that behind in pursuit of money, marriage, fame, recognition, something. And in today's everything world, it's unbelievable seeing how there's these people out there that are constantly pursuing this fame, this fortune, all this sort of stuff. And it was an incredible gift what happened down in New Zealand. I had a company phone, and once my company phone was taken from me, all my social media stuff started to get tampered with, started to get screwed around with, and that was a blessing. The only thing that was left alone was actually this channel, which I'm actually very, very appreciative of. But losing all that stuff freed me up. It freed my mind up. It's freed everything up. And now being, in this area where I am now, we will be doing, a few more videos out in the wilderness. We're going to start doing that stuff. I might actually even just start a whole separate channel and actually just start living my passion and actually start sharing it with you guys. I know too much about what's going on in the world, and there's nothing that we can do about it. So, all I could say is that really rediscover what your passion is. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about what happened as far as the real reset inside of my noodle, as far as how my brain actually reset itself. And it has a lot to do with actually it has everything to do with DMT. But anyway, I just wanted to share that stuff with you guys. You know, if you're feeling a little bit lost, if you're feeling bewildered, if you don't know what's going on, all that sort of stuff, the reality of the situation is start to try to rediscover what you're really passionate about. Like, seriously. And, you know, I'll do a video about that too, about how to rediscover that aspect of yourself, how to re-find, you know, and reignite that passion inside of yourself. Because you'll know when you hit it, when you find it, it's just like, wow, it's awesome. So, till the next video, drink lots of coffee. No, have a good one, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Alrighty, cheers.